So hi guys, I'm returning. Just got back from the gym, so that's why I have on what I have on, but I want to go ahead and get this taped while I have a little bit of downtime, which I never ever have. So this video is going to be things that I wish I would have done or known about IVF before starting. So for those of you unfamiliar with my journey, I started in 2016, end of 2016, for male infertility. Pretty much, my husband had a vasectomy. We actually had been dating for years, but we got married in 2017, and we knew we were going to have to do, I knew I was going to need help to get pregnant. Pretty much because he had a vasectomy, I thought we were going to be able to extract sperm from him and do an IUI with me, since there were no known female fertility issues. So here we are today, and I'm getting ready to go into a FET, which is a frozen embryo transfer. I'm going to have another video on that, but it's been a journey, to say the least. So these are things that I wish I would have known or done before I did IVF. So number one, when I first started, when I went for my consults, I only knew of one clinic where I live in Charlotte, North Carolina. I only knew of one clinic, and I went there because some of my coworkers were going there too. And pretty much I felt like they were the end all be all. I didn't realize we had two other clinics in the Charlotte region, and we had more in the Raleigh and Durham, and even some near the mountains. And I definitely didn't realize that there was medical tourism, that people were actually traveling hours and even flying places for fertility treatments. I had no idea whatsoever. So I wish, number one, I would have gotten 3 consults versus just the one. 3 consults at 3 different clinics. I know they cost, but still, just to find what the best treatment plan was for me. Because I feel like initially we just kind of got knocked down saying you can't do IUI, you need to go straight into IVF, especially because of your age, blah, blah, blah. And I think there are several things we could have tried prior to even doing IVF. And of course, IVF cycles are costly. If you didn't know, you know, about $10,000+ per cycle. So number one, I wish I would have gotten 3 consults before I started the IVF process. Number 2, I would say be prepared to do 3 cycles of IVF, at least 3. Does that say you won't be successful on the first? That's not what I'm saying at all. But more than likely, you're going to need more than 1 cycle. And if you are young enough, you may want to bank your eggs, which means do multiple egg retrievals, inseminate, PGS, test them all at one time, and then decide which ones you're going to put back in. I don't recommend banking if you're older, like I was, and I'll talk about that later. So I would say be prepared for at least 3 IVF cycles, and verify your insurance coverage. I'm a nurse, and I work for a major hospital system, and my IVF coverage through my employer was only $10,000 max. My husband, through his employer, it was going to be $25,000 coverage. And I'm like, wow, my husband got way more coverage than I got. How odd is that? And I work for a healthcare system. So $10,000 only covers really, truly not even 1 whole cycle of IVF. After your co-pays and deductibles, you know, I still had to pay $5,000+ out of pocket for 1 cycle. So I wish I would have been prepared to pay for at least 3 cycles of IVF, just to have that mental preparation, have it budgeted so it's not a strain on the back end. Because right now I do have medical debt related to the IVF that I did not have before. I'm the kind of person, I don't like to carry debt, was raised not to carry debt, so this is my first time carrying debt like that outside of a school loan, which I cleared years ago. And from this point forward, I just always pay for school cash, no more student loans. So number 2 was be prepared for at least 3 cycles of IVF, and be sure to verify your insurance coverage. If I would have known about the Starbucks thing, I probably would have got me a part-time job at Starbucks, but I have no idea the difference between venti, latte, frappe, mocha, venti. I think in venti, small or large, I have no idea. So people would have been pissed at me all the time, and I don't drink coffee, so So Starbucks, I don't know. Number 3, I learned that medicines are cheapest through my hospital pharmacy. So they had put me in contact with Freedom Meds and all these other companies to order my medicines from. I found out that medicines are way cheaper from my hospital pharmacy than anywhere else. So if you can get, anyone can get medicines from a hospital pharmacy. You don't have to be a patient there. But I found out they were cheapest there at the hospital pharmacy. And they did help with some of the discount cards and things like that. Per each cycle, the most I spent was probably about $1,500 for medicines. The medicine that cost the most was my Omnitrope. That one was like $3 something a bottle after insurance. And I would have about like 3 bottles I had to use it at, or 2.5 bottles I had to use it at. So that was my most expensive medicine during my procedures. Number 4, get connected with groups prior to starting IVF. I had no idea about the support groups through Resolve, and I had no idea about all the different Facebook groups. The ones for over 40, the ones based on your clinic, the ones based on just IVF, the ones based on surrogates, embryo donation, egg donation recipients. There are tons of IVF groups out there. What I will say is don't get caught up in the negative, and it's a nice forum to share your goods and your bads. Remember, everyone is different. We all want to have our different journeys, but I have learned an extreme amount from those groups. And through you vloggers on YouTube, I have learned an extreme amount as well. I mean, I can't even begin to say how much I've learned from the vloggers that I watch. So thank you guys for sharing everything. And here goes Nosy. Hey, Tia Gillespie. So that was number 4 was connect with groups prior to starting. Number 5, I wish we would have tried IUIs after his vasectomy reversal. He did have a reversal last year, and he had it in November 2018, and we didn't do any IUIs, and I wish we would have. When we did 2 semen analysis. The results weren't the best. Great motility count, they say, wasn't that great, but I still wish we would have done IUIs prior to me preparing for this FET. So I know some people's insurance requires IUI prior, mine's didn't, but that's one thing I wish we would have done, or a couple of IUIs prior to going into this prep for this FET. Because remember, since he wouldn't have to do extraction anymore, which he's going to do a video on extraction, they were literally just going to need a specimen. They would be able to find the best couple, 1 or 2, and be able to ICSI my eggs and hopefully fertilize. And so, you know, we didn't even try that. Well, not ICSI. They don't ICSI with IUI. They ICSI with IVF. But with IUI, they would have put me on medicines, hoping that I ovulated and released a few more follicles than normal, blah, blah, blah. So I do wish we would have tried IUIs prior to this FET that we're getting ready to do. The next thing, number 6, I have learned at my age to ask for 3-day transfers. I have learned that my eggs do not do good, my embryos or whatever, that they do not do good in the lab, okay? So usually I have all of them up until day 3. After day 3, they start dropping off, and then by day 5 and 6, I may not have any. So I have learned that if I was to stem again, I would request a 3-day transfer. I just feel older eggs just need to get back into the womb as soon as possible. And people say, well, you know, let them grow out to day 5 and day 6 until they're full blast and hatching blast and whatnot. I feel like the older eggs, especially speaking for myself, I feel like mine would have done better with 3-day transfers, just back in me versus watching them in the lab. Because as we got out, the more days and more days, I just lost them. And then I got to where I wouldn't even have any to transfer. So that didn't do good. Number 7, the first time I did a retrieval, I actually banked 4 eggs. I had 4 mature out of 7 that were retrieved. 7 follicles I had, and I didn't even have all the medicines for that first cycle. My nurse messed up my meds. My nurse and my doc messed up my meds, and I was missing some of my meds at the end. So I didn't even have my full meds my first IVF cycle, and we got 7 follicles, 4 were mature, and they banked those. When they went to thaw those to inseminate a month or so later, only one thawed, only one. Then I was told old eggs don't thaw well. Okay, so that was a waste. So I would say if you 40 and older, and remember my AMH is still decent for my age, old eggs do not bank well. So I wouldn't always inseminate eggs. Don't try to bank them if you're over a certain age. That's just what I've learned. Number 8, be prepared for extra testing. It seemed like there was always some extra testing that came up. Always, you know, extra labs, extra this, or we want to do a saline histogram or whatever. There was always something extra. So always be prepared for extra tests that they may want. It feels like they're putting you through the ringer. It feels like they're searching you from the rooter to the tutor. You know, the last thing that I had done was a laparoscopic, hold on. Last thing I had done was a laparoscopic exploratory lap in May to check for endometriosis, and everything came out great. Then just the other day, when I did my trial transfer, and I'll talk about that in another video, they did another saline histogram, and I asked them why. I just had this done last month. I have a $35,000 hospital bill that, thank God, insurance is covering the majority of it, but why are we repeating this? Because I'm a cash pay patient now. I have no more IVF coverage. Everything you do for me is cash. So why are we repeating this that I just had done a month prior? They were like, we just want to make sure that everything is perfect for transfer. I just felt a little bit of rage in me because I'm like, this is another $1,000 for a test that I just had done a month prior. You're not going to tell me that my anatomy has changed within a month. You're not going to tell me that my cooter has changed within a month. I refuse to believe that, okay? So I feel like sometimes they can do little extra things. They say to caution on side of error, but come on, people, really? Number 9, be prepared for cycle delays. Cycle delays can be because of labs, uterine lining, several things. What I've noticed, I've learned at my office, transfer days are based on their schedules. Sometimes they stem in groups. So I wasn't aware of that. So everything that you go through for IVF is not always related to your body and your timing and your schedule. It can be related to the clinic schedule. Number 10, be prepared for people's interactions and what they're going to say when you tell them that you're having IVF. I couldn't even begin to count the times that people have said, what about a surrogate? What about adoption? What about a sperm donor? What about asking your sister to have your baby? You know, it's like, okay, y'all must know something that I do, because no one has told me yet that I cannot carry a child. And as far as I know, there was a Ruth, and I heard that she had a baby and she was way up in age. And I have friends that are still having babies naturally as well. So, and the response from the men is even worse, especially since my husband is 8 years older than me. Man, why would you want to start all over again? Your kid's almost grown. Okay, well, he married a woman who didn't have kids, and he knew she wanted to have kids. So how about you just, you know, go and keep living your Sanford and Son life, and we're going to do what we want to do and be happy and continue to grow. So just be prepared for people's reactions when you do IVF and what they're going to say. And you just have to know that you're doing it for you, what your reasons are, and just keep it moving. The next thing I will say, and number 11, kind of my last, and Lord knows I got from the gym, and this is the first time I went to Smoothie King in like months, because Smoothie King to me has way too many calories and sugar for the workout that I just did. But today I found one that was 0 added sugar, 300 calories, but I'm going to make this last for 2 meals actually. I will say be prepared for weight gain. I gained 20 plus pounds from IVF stems. Okay, people can say, no, you had to have overeaten. Nope, sure didn't. I was still watching what I was eating. I actually work for a bariatric surgeon, and I actually do medical weight management with patients. So I have to counsel patients daily on caloric intake, protein intake, sugar intake, things like that. So and I was so swollen that my flip-flops were even tight on my feet right before my egg retrieval last year. And last year my egg retrieval was July 5th, and we did a fresh transfer on July 10th, and everything was going great, but I did miscarry on August the 15th, so we're right in that same time frame. So last year this time, I was plump and juicy. I was so juicy you could have poked me with a fork and I would have bubbled up like meat in the oven. So be prepared for some weight gain. Understand, yeah, if pregnancy is successful, you're going to gain it then, but I guess it makes it more bittersweet when you go through all of that and you don't have anything to show for it. So I've made conscious efforts to try to get that weight off, and I will tell you it's been hard. I mean, I feel like I was on some pretty high doses of medicines. I didn't have to suffer from any hyperstimulation and things like that, so because I don't have a history of PCOS or any of that. But so those are the things that I wish I would have known or done prior to my full IVF cycle. I have learned so much through this journey. You know, I'm willing to share anything and everything. If you want to leave comments below letting me know things that you wish you would have known before you started IVF and that you would like to share with others, because like I always say, knowledge is power. And I tell my husband all the time, why do I always have to be the first to go through things? It's funny how when people caught wind that I was doing IVF, then people came out the woodwork telling me things after the fact. But I'm like, wow, okay, you kind of knew I was going through it before, but you were scared to share anything. When I learn things, I share, because I want no one to go through what I have endured or suffered. So those are my thoughts, and that's my video on what I would have done or wish I would have known prior to IVF. Hope that you guys are having a great day, and I'll see you soon. Bye.